Welcome to the deep dive. We take fascinating research, pull out the best bits for you.
It's straight to the point.
Exactly. And today, we're tackling something I think, well, everyone wonders about when learning. What actually makes us want to put in the mental work?
Yeah, why bother, right?
We've got some recent studies here that really zero in on motivation. What we expect, what we think we can do,
Mm.
how we size up a challenge. It's all key.
It really is. And it's kind of a shift. Cognitive load theory for ages was very focused on instructional design, how to present stuff.
Right, making it easy for the brain.
But this new work shows our own drive, our mindset. It massively influences how much effort we're actually willing to spend, especially when we're learning on our own, self-regulated learning.
And this biopsychosocial model of challenge and threat seems central.
That's the core framework they're using.
Yeah.
It helps understand the sort of mental gears turning, why we lean in or pull back.
Okay, sounds interesting. So it's not ditching the old cognitive stuff.
Not at all. That foundation is crucial. How our brains process information, that's vital. But this adds another layer. It shows those cognitive processes are, tangled up with our feelings, our motivation.
Which is perfect for our listeners,
Yeah.
right? So you want to get up to speed quickly, get the essence without drowning in academic jargon.
That's the goal.
So we're diving deep to give you that shortcut, understanding what fuels our effort when we learn.
Okay, so let's start there. Motivation is fundamental. We touched on it early, cognitive load theory, mostly about the materials, the instruction.
Yeah, how clear is it? Minimize distractions, manage working memory, make it efficient, and mental effort was the key metric.
Basically, yeah. How much brain power are you dedicating?
And it was seen as just a result of task complexity and prior knowledge.
Pretty much. But like I said, the field's moved on. There's a much bigger appreciation now that the effort we choose to invest, it's not just cognitive factors.
And that's where the emotions and motivations really step in.
Exactly. Yeah, especially in self-regulated learning. When you're the boss of your own learning, you pick the task, the pace.
That makes sense. If you're deciding your internal state must matter more.
It really comes to the forefront. Why does one person tackle a hard problem and another just avoids it? It's not just raw intelligence, it's about the drive.
Okay, so that brings us neatly to self-efficacy, a term many people have probably heard. What is it exactly in this context?
Simply put, it's your belief in your own ability to succeed at something specific, that task, that situation. It's confidence, basically.
And the research says it's a major driver of effort.
Absolutely. Consistently. If you fundamentally don't believe you can do it,
Why pour energy into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels futile.
like trying to push a boulder uphill if you think it's impossible. And people with higher self-efficacy, they tend to see tough tasks as challenges, not threats. They persist more.
Where does it come from, though, this self-belief?
It's not fixed, it grows or shrinks based on experiences. Well, number one is mastery experiences. Succeeding in the past builds confidence for the future. Makes sense, right?
Totally.
Then there's vicarious experience, seeing someone else, maybe someone like you, succeed. That can boost your own belief.
Ah, like if they can do it, maybe I can too.
Precisely. Then verbal persuasion, encouragement, positive feedback, and even interpreting your own physiological state, like managing anxiety versus letting it overwhelm you.
Okay, but there's a twist, right? Sometimes high self-efficacy means less effort. That seems weird.
It does sound weird, but think about it. If you're highly confident and highly skilled, you might genuinely need less conscious effort. You're efficient.
Okay, fair enough. But what's the downside?
The trap is overconfidence. When a task seems easy, you think, oh, piece of cake. You dial back the effort.
And then you don't actually learn as much because you weren't fully engaged.
Exactly. There's that old study, Salomon in '84. TV versus print.
Tell me about that one.
People thought TV was easier. So higher self-efficacy for learning from TV, but they expected to put in less effort.
And the result?
They learned less from the TV. Their perception of ease actually hindered their learning because it reduced the effort they invested.
Wow. So our beliefs really shape the outcome? And self-efficacy isn't static. It changes.
Definitely dynamic. What happens during learning matters. Task format, feedback. It all shifts things, like that Van Harsel study in 2020.
What did they look at?
Whether it's better to start by solving a problem yourself or by studying an example first, starting with the problem, lowered self-efficacy afterwards compared to studying the example first.
Yeah.
And the problem first group reported putting in more effort initially.
Okay.
But interestingly, if they then went from the problem to studying an example, their self-efficacy went up and they felt they needed less effort later.
So those first moments really set a tone for confidence and effort.
Seems like it. It shows how fluid these things are.
Okay, so self-efficacy, huge factor, but not the whole picture, according to this research. Enter the biopsychosocial model of challenge and threat. Bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. But think of it like this. It's a framework for how we size up situations where we need to perform, use our brains.
Okay.
When we face a task that matters, requires effort, we sort of automatically weigh the demands against our resources.
Demands versus resources, like a mental scale. What influences that?
Loads of things. Internally, skills, confidence, there's self-efficacy, again, it's self-esteem, anxiety levels. Externally, how new is the task? How hard? Is there time pressure? Social pressure? Do you feel supported?
And weighing these leads to either challenge or threat. What's the difference?
If your resources feel equal to or greater than the demands, that's a challenge state. You feel capable, engaged.
Ready to go.
Yeah, but if the demands feel like they outweigh your resources, that's a threat state. Overwhelmed, worried about failure, less control.
And these aren't just feelings, they can be measured.
Yep, self-report questionnaires are common. How challenged do you feel? How threatened? But also physiological stuff.
Like heart rate.
Exactly. Heart rate, blood pressure patterns. Challenge and threat have different cardiovascular signatures, apparently.
Fascinating. And challenge state, better performance.
Generally, yes. Across different areas, sports, cognitive tasks feeling challenged is linked to performing better. More focus, more engagement.
And the social context matters too. Being watched, for instance.
Oh, definitely. If you're good at something, being watched can trigger challenge, boost performance. But if it's tough or new, observation can feel threatening, hinder performance, fear of judgment.
Makes sense. What about things like power or influence?
Similar idea. Having power can feel like a challenge if you see it as an opportunity. But if it feels like a burden, high stakes, potential negative outcomes, that can increase threat.
So given all this, challenge, threat, self-efficacy, what's the direct link to how much effort we expect to put in? Was that clear before these experiments?
That's the thing. There wasn't much research directly connecting challenge threat states to anticipated mental effort. One study did find if people were told a task was low effort, they saw it as more of a challenge and did better. But it was still a bit murky.
Which sets the stage for these 4 experiments they ran. What was their main goal?
The core goal across all 4 was, how does feedback, positive or negative, affect self-efficacy, challenge, threat, and then critically anticipated future effort and willingness to invest that effort?
What kinds of tasks did they use?
A mix. Experiments 1 and 3 used cognitive reflection test problems, those tricky ones with an obvious but wrong answer.
The ones that make you stop and think.
Exactly. Experiments 2 and 4 used weekday problems like verbal logic puzzles.
And the key manipulation was feedback.
Right. Randomly assigned. Mostly positive feedback, mostly negative. Or in 3 and 4, a no feedback control group. And sometimes the feedback wasn't even real, it was manipulated for consistency.
Okay, let's get to the results. What did feedback do to self-efficacy?
Pretty clear pattern there. Negative feedback consistently lowered self-efficacy compared to positive feedback, and compared to no feedback in the later experiments.
No surprises there. Being told you're wrong dents your confidence.
Makes intuitive sense, yeah.
What about challenge and threat feelings?
Challenge was a bit mixed. Experiments 1 and 2 showed positive feedback led to higher challenge than negative. But 3 and 4 didn't find that so clearly. Might be down to slightly different ways they measured challenge.
Okay. And threat.
Threat was clearer. Negative feedback consistently led to higher reported threat compared to positive. And sometimes compared to no feedback too. Feeling like you're failing definitely ramps up the worry.
Okay, the million-dollar question. How did all this affect effort? Specifically, the effort people expected to need.
This is really interesting. Negative feedback made people expect to need more effort on future problems. That was found in experiments 1, 2, and 3.
So struggling makes you think the next ones will be hard too.
Seems like it. But, and this is crucial across all 4 experiments, there was no direct significant effect of feedback type on how willing they were to invest effort.
Wait, really? So expecting it to be harder didn't make them less willing?
On the surface, no direct link. Which seems odd, right?
Yeah, very odd.
And that's why they did the deeper statistical dives, the mediation and moderation analyses, to figure out the why.
Okay, unpack that for us. What did those analyses show?
They showed that the effect of feedback on expected effort was mostly explained indirectly, through self-efficacy and threat.
How so?
Well, in experiment 1, for instance, Negative feedback led to higher expected effort because it lowered self-efficacy and increased threat. Feeling less capable and more worried made them anticipate needing to try harder.
Got it. That connects. But
And
still, the willingness part, why no direct link?
this is the key. There were significant indirect effects on willingness
Uh-huh.
through both challenge and threat.
Okay, explain that.
Positive feedback tended to boost challenge, and higher challenge was linked to more willingness to invest effort. Like, yeah, I can do this, let's go.
Right.
Negative feedback, on the other hand, boosted threat.
Mm.
But surprisingly, higher threat was also linked to more willingness to invest effort.
Hold on. Feeling threatened made people more willing to try.
It seems so. Maybe like a brace for impact or I need to try harder to avoid failing again kind of
Yeah.
response. Vigilant effort.
So positive and negative feedback could both increase willingness, but through totally different routes. One through challenge, one through threat.
Exactly. Positive feedback fosters eager engagement via challenge. Negative feedback triggers effortful striving via threat. And because these two paths were sort of pushing in the same direction, more willingness, but starting from different places.
When you just looked at feedback overall, the effect on willingness washed out. It canceled itself out.
Precisely. That's why the direct effect wasn't significant. The indirect paths tell the real story.
Wow. That is a crucial distinction. It's not just if you're willing, but why. The quality of that motivation.
Absolutely. And looking at the no feedback groups in experiments 3 and 4 added more nuance. In XB3, challenge predicted effort invested, expected effort, and willingness, even without feedback. But that didn't replicate in XP4.
So maybe the task type matters there. Cognitive reflection versus weekday problem.
Could be, yeah. It suggests the relationship isn't always simple.
And self-efficacy played another complex role. Something about moderated mediation in experiment 4.
Yes, that was a really neat finding. They found that self-efficacy influenced how feedback affected threat. Specifically, positive feedback reduced threat the most for people who ended up with high self-efficacy after getting the feedback.
So if you got positive feedback but still didn't feel that confident, it didn't lower the threat feeling as much.
Exactly. And then threat was linked to higher willingness to invest effort. But again, this indirect effect, feedback, self-efficacy, threat willingness, was really only significant for those folks with high post-feedback self-efficacy.
Okay, let me try to summarize that. Positive feedback works best at reducing threat, and thus potentially leading to more positive effort if you already have a decent level of confidence. If confidence stays low, positive feedback might not fully cut through the threat feeling.
That's a great way to phrase it. It shows how feedback, self-belief, and emotional states like threat are all interacting in complex ways to shape motivation.
So, pulling all this together, what are the main implications, the big takeaways?
I think the biggest one is that just looking at positive versus negative feedback isn't enough. Considering challenge and threat adds a whole new, valuable layer to understanding effort investment.
And recognizing that even if both types of feedback lead to willingness to try harder.
The underlying reasons are different. Challenge feels better, likely more sustainable. Threat might work short-term, but could lead to burnout or anxiety long-term.
So trying to motivate solely through negative consequences or pressure, probably not ideal.
Likely not sustainable, no. It might get effort, but at a cost. The research also flagged that how you measure these things matters. Effort, self-efficacy, challenge, threat. Different measures in the experiments might explain some inconsistencies.
Always important to remember, what about future research? Where should this go next?
Well, using those physiological measures of challenge threat seems promising. Get a more objective, real-time picture.
Instead of just asking people how they feel.
Right. And also looking beyond just feedback. What else influences challenge threat? The social context. Seeing others learn. Collaboration. Lots to explore.
And the practical goal.
Ultimately, to figure out how to design learning experiences that minimize threat, promote challenge, and foster sustained effort and better performance. Maybe even tailoring things based on someone's initial self-efficacy.
Okay, so summing up, motivation is key. Self-efficacy plays a big role. But this challenge-threat perspective, shaped by demands versus resources, really helps explain why we're willing to put in the effort. Feedback influences it, but often indirectly through these challenge-threat states. That's the essence of it. And understanding this, for you, the listener, can be quite empowering. Being aware of your own state, am I feeling challenged or threatened by this learning task, can help you manage your approach.
Recognizing whether you feel engaged and capable or anxious and overwhelmed.
Exactly. That recognition is the first step.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Think about a learning situation where you felt strongly challenged, or maybe one where you felt distinctly threatened. How did that feeling impact your willingness to really dig in and invest the mental effort? And what might have shifted that feeling for you, your confidence going in, the way it was presented, the support you had? Consider that interplay in your own learning journey that demands your resources, your self-belief. It's all connected.
Definitely worth reflecting on.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.